Admiral Truly has a few minutes with the press before we have the post-launch news conference. Admiral Truly?
Well, hello, friends. It doesn't look much better than it did to me this morning. It was a beautiful flight. Charlie Bolden and his crew have already made the OMS burn, so they're safely in a good orbit and heading to what I know will be an outstanding mission. This is the 21st shuttle flight since the accident in 42 months, and that's quite a record, not only for the Kennedy team, but for all the teams of people at the contractors around the country and at Houston, and for all the people that support the space program. So it was a beautiful launch, and I was delighted to be down here for it. I told John Zarella this morning that we were going to launch this morning, and I was delighted that we did. But if we hadn't been ready, we wouldn't have gone, and that's the way the program ought to be run, and I'm sure it will be in the future. I feel very comfortable about that. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you have, but I think things are really on the move this morning for the space program.
Jim?
Jim?
Jim Slade, ABC News. Well, Dick, this is your final one as administrator of NASA. I'd like a few reflections, if we could, looking back on your tenure and what you hope for the shuttle program itself as the years go on.
Well, Jim, I think that my hopes for the shuttle program is the kind of performance I've seen in the last 3 years. This is a risky business, and it's still going to be risky after I'm gone. And it's going to take the kind of professionalism of techs on the floor and engineers in the design room and managers that to make the program run as well as it's been going. But frankly, these missions are going off on a steady pace, and it's a pace that frankly is very comfortable for the people, I think, throughout the program. They trust the management to believe that the management is not going to push them into a bad decision, and the results have been absolutely spectacular. This mission, this time, this Atlas 1 mission, promises to be as successful as some of the ones before it. So as far as I'm concerned, I've loved it. I wish I was in this flight with Charlie Bolden. I think I'm going to put myself on the new astronaut selection list we're going to announce in a few days. But I've loved every minute of it. It's been a thrill.
John?
I never doubted you for a minute this morning, Admiral. The shuttle certainly rumbled into space today, and it was a great flight. But what about all the rumblings on the ground with all of the changes going on in NASA and politics seeming to get more and more involved in the space program? Do you like it and the way things are right now, and what do you think you could tell the American public about the future of the space program in these economic times, for one?
Well, I think there are some, these are turbulent times, and no, I don't like it because part of the turbulence, I think, is unnecessary. But this is going to be a very difficult budget year. It's going to be a year when we're going to need to go to our friends in the Congress and justify to them, as we should, that the space program is on good footing, and that we have plenty of good reasons for them to support us for the future. But frankly, I think the best thing that is going on is not turbulence, but stability within the agency. I spent a good part of yesterday down here at the Kennedy Space Center touring. Dr. Alan Bromley, the President's science advisor, was down here, and he's a great friend of the space program, but I wanted to take some time and take him around and meet some of the techs, meet some of the engineers on the floor, and we went over to the new OPF. We walked around the scaffolding, looked at that orbiter in processing. We went out on the pad and looked at the Endeavour, looked across the way at the vehicle that's now in orbit, and I could just tell that as we spent that amount of time with him, it began to soak into him the kinds of investments we've made in the infrastructure that makes this agency go, and when you look around NASA, I think that's what you see, whether it's wind tunnels or management decisions or space shuttle programs or space station planning. We also went out, and there's a big girder that's going into the new space station processing facility that all the troops are signing their name on. We went out there and did that. There are new space station buildings already up and built in Johnson. So frankly, I think that it's that stability that's going to gain us the confidence. And the best thing NASA could do is to keep safely and successfully pumping off the flights that are on the books. But yes, there's turbulence, but there's a lot of stability too. So I think we're doing okay.
Steve.
Thank you, Dick. Steve Rondinero, Channel 2, Orlando. Admiral, you were certainly the point man in seeing astronauts rise to key management positions here within NASA, the post-Challenger movement. Now, with your departure, we're certainly seeing a vacuum at the top, and from that perspective, are you worried about the program getting out of the hands of astronauts once again, and were you a flyer in a political environment, and were you ever entirely comfortable having to play the political games?
Well, let me ask there's a couple of questions in there. First of all, on astronauts, there's some astronauts that make damn good managers, and there's some that don't. And the next administrator or anybody else would be crazy if he didn't take advantage of the people he has, whether they're men or women, minority or not, astronauts or not. He ought to get the right people for the right jobs and put them in there. So I think that's a non-issue, really. It makes good copy, but it's not something I've ever even really thought about it. I know them well. Those that are good managers, I've tried to give them an opportunity. I'll tell you a great one right now, but he's not much interested, is Charlie Bolden. Charlie has got the capacity to do a lot more things than flying in space. And I would hope that, that he'll serve, and I'm sure that he and others will have the chance to do that. As far as the political scenes, I've loved some of it, and I've not loved some of it. And I've never met anybody in Washington that didn't feel that way. Some of it is thrilling to watch government work, and some of it makes you sick to your stomach. And I think everybody that I've known in Washington feels the same way, whether they're in the White House or the Congress or the agencies. It's that's the way the country runs, and we're lucky to be in a country where, as bad as the system can be at times, it's the best system in the world. So you have to take it. Oh, that's hard to say. Probably watching us. Probably hard to say.
Jim.
Alan, Jim Banky with Florida Today. You're talking about stability in the program, things that are on their way now. I guess, we're obviously interested from the KSC perspective with our readers.
Sure.
How stable is the shuttle program? How realistic is space station and that processing facility getting finished? And if things totally change, Golden comes in, it's a whole new ball game. How long before we'd see serious changes here at KSC?
Well, after I turned in my resignation a few weeks ago, I specifically, one of the rumors that was floating around was about space station, and maybe this was a signal that space station was going to lose some support. And before I had the first budget hearing, I talked personally with Dick Darman and talked to him about it, and had another conversation that went through the White House and confirmed that, in fact, space station has got the same strong support from the President and the White House that it did before. Space station is going to be challenged this year. I hope it's not in the same way that it was last year, but so is everything else. Not just in the NASA budget, but in around the government. This is going to be a tough year for the Congress, and they're going to have to make some tough decisions. But my feeling is that we're a lot better off than we were a year ago. Last summer there was a lot of political turmoil about Space Station, but one of the most amazing management jobs that I have ever seen was done that sort of shielded the people actually working on the program, such that the people in NASA made, and I say that as a NASA team, our industry partners as well as NASA, but the NASA team made 12 months progress in a year in Space Station, and so now we're taking back a program to the Congress that is even more stable than it was, a year ago. So I feel as good as I can about that, but I think it's going to be a tough fight. As far as Space Shuttle goes, the fact is the Space Shuttle is the backbone of our ability to fly in space. You that see many flights down here see that infrastructure we've got in place. We're not going to walk away from it. It'd be crazy if we did. It is far from perfect, but most things in life are. But as long as we can safely and successfully keep flying the shuttle flights, there's not another system that'll touch it, and I feel like it'll be supported.
Beth?
Beth Dickey with Reuters. Admiral, I realize that you haven't been in with all the operations managers and everything today, and you may not know much about this, but I'm wondering about the OMS burn that delayed your talk with us. Do you know what the reason for that was? I'm assuming it was unscheduled.
I don't know, and it didn't sound, when I got over here, it didn't sound, just listening to the voice traffic, it didn't sound like it was any hurried up emergency, but maybe somebody else can help me.
No, that was a scheduled burn, and we'll get you all the details on what it did, but it was scheduled, Beth. John with Holman?
Talking about the space station, do you expect another countries, the cooperation with another countries, including Russia and the ex-Soviet Union?
Space Station is already the largest scientific and technological international cooperative venture that the world has ever seen. That's another good part about it is that our European partners and our Canadian partners and our Japanese partners are fully on board with us in the stability of the program. There may be ways for us to cooperate with the former Soviet Union in the future, and we already are in small ways. But I think for now, the major cooperation in Space Station Freedom is the one that's already put together and has been working for the last several years.
Susan?
Susan Cole, WCPX-TV, Orlando. Admiral, what's your perception of the American public? Are they still interested in space? Are they still behind the space program, or have you seen a little bit of a lack of interest, as the launches become, I hate to use the word, but routine?
I have a great faith in the American public and their abiding support for the space program. I do see in the middle of a recession and then in the middle of an election year, other issues that seem to overtake it, and so I think that it's something that the people in the space program are going to have to continue to nurture. But I tell you, when I go around the country and get outside of Washington and talk to people, they're very, very proud of America's space program, and I think they'll stay that way.
Harry?
From Aviation Week. How you doing?
Great.
Admiral Truly, have you made any self-analysis on what you're going to be doing starting day after tomorrow? Have you discussed politics? Have you discussed industry work? What are your options at the moment?
I have made a decision, and that's not to make a decision right now. My wife, Cody, and I are going to take some time off, which I haven't done a lot of in the last 6 years. As a matter of fact, for a lot longer than that. And I have, frankly, put off talking to anybody seriously for various reasons. I wanted to finish my tenure in NASA just the way I started it, and that was, working on the space program. If you've got any great ideas, I'd love to talk to you. Politics is not one of them. I don't. I don't think that would be right for me.
Craig, this is the next to last question.
Admiral, looking back on your NASA career, both flying and administering, what stands out as like the most memorable thing for you?
That is really hard for me. There's nothing that compares to flying in space. It really doesn't. To look at this Earth is just something that's a cut above any other experience that I believe that any human could have, and I've had that opportunity along with others, and so that one is almost not comparable. I think the most fun project I ever worked on was approach and landing test, flying the Enterprise on top of the 747. That was quite a thrill. I've told you this before, but I'll say it again. I got the opportunity to tell the chairman of the Boeing Aircraft Company one day that I had had 3 flights aboard the 747 and never one inside. Let me say one more thing, though, in answer to that. I tell you, the proudest thing that I've done, though, is the people at all the centers in the AAs in Washington. Over the last 6 years, I've had the privilege of putting every center director, every deputy center director, and almost every AA and every deputy AA into their positions, and this is a heck of a team, and I'm not worried about them. It's if there was a legacy I could leave to NASA, it'd be those people, and they're backed up by a whale of a lot of others.
Gentlemen from NPR.
Alan Lipke, Living on Earth. Admiral Truly, speaking of balances, can you give us your thoughts and feelings on this year's roughly 35% cutback in the mission to planet Earth, which this flight is part of, and tell us anything you can about the balance of mission to planet Earth and mission from planet Earth and how it affected you?
I think that this year's budget is an excellent budget in the sense that with the available funds, it does retain the balance of the mission to planet Earth, the mission from planet Earth, the space transportation, and people and facilities that lie under it in our aeronautics research programs. In your specific question about the Earth sciences and the mission to planet Earth and the Earth observing system, yes, we could fund them a little more robustly if the money was there, but they're well thought out. The program, this flight is a good example. It's not just one flight; it's a whole series. We'll get the job done, and we're a lot better off retaining that balance than cutting off one of these major areas.
I believe we're out of time. We need to wrap this up. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you.